about patch panels. Now, a patch panel is a flat piece of hardware with network ports that is typically located in a server room or wiring closet, and its purpose is to reduce clutter by keeping your network cables neat and organized. A patch panel is similar to a keystone jack and wall plate. The difference is that a patch panel has a large number of ports and is installed on a server rack near a switch, and a wall plate has a small number of ports and is installed in a wall near a networking device, such as a computer. So the first question is, do you need a patch panel? Well, no you don't. It's not essential. But if you want to keep your network cables neat and organized, it would definitely help.
Okay, so let me make some explanation on this one before we go on. There is something he made reference to this, and so this is what I'm talking about. So this will be in the office. This is not labeled. It has to be labeled here, and let's say you have here to be A. It means that when you come here that you should see something like what? A here. Are you all getting what I'm saying? And that A here, it means that when you go to the office and you come here, which is the IDF, that label that you have here as A, you have to see it here. Then you connect this cable to this. Are you all getting the flow of what I'm saying? It means that you've patched it, so this is going to a PC where you have it here, but I'll allow the whole video to finish, but I just want you to understand. So this cable will be patched to the PC. Then in the IDF you come and patch it to the switch. Then now you have the switch connecting to the PC. So the switch is connecting to the PC because of the patch panel and what? The wall jack. Any question on this aspect before I continue? Okay, good. So now let's continue the rest.
Such as a computer. So the first question is, do you need a patch panel? Well, no you don't. It's not essential. But if you want to keep your network cables neat and organized, it would definitely help. So as an example, in a typical office building using an Ethernet network, you're going to have computers and networking devices that need access to the network. And all throughout this building, you're going to have Ethernet cables running inside the walls to all the rooms that have computers. And then the wires in those Ethernet cables will be punched down into RJ45 keystone jacks. And then those keystone jacks will be attached to the wall plates, and then those wall plates will be installed all throughout this building. And then from there, you're going to have Ethernet cables plugging the computers into those wall jacks. And at the other end of those cables need to be connected to a switch so that all the devices can be networked together and so they can also access the internet. So here, all the cables are connected to the switch, and now the network is complete. Now you can leave it like this because it works, but as you can see, the cables are not organized. There's a lot of clutter, and if there was a problem with a computer connecting to the network due to a defective cable, it'll be very hard to pinpoint individual cables in this clutter. So this is where a patch panel can help. By installing a patch panel, instead of the cables being directly plugged into this switch, the cables will be connected to the back of this patch panel. So if we take a look at the back, in this particular patch panel, the wires are going to be punched down. So the RJ45 connectors will be removed from each cable, and then the wires in the cable will be punched down to the back of this patch panel. And then the final step is to connect the patch panel with all its connections to the switch. And this is done by attaching short patch cables, connecting a port from the patch panel to a port on the switch. And now this network is complete. And to even add more organization, the patch panel will have an area where the ports can be easily labeled so you can identify which cable comes from where. So as you can see from before and after, the patch panel makes your cables neat and organized in a centralized location. So patch panels offer several benefits. In addition to organizing your cables, they also make troubleshooting and maintenance jobs a lot easier, and they are inexpensive. Hey guys, I want to tell you about my sponsor for...
Good. If you understand what I'm saying, So do you all get the answers to that? Yes, George. What question do you have based on the
Yeah,
video?
Prof. I wanted to ask regarding the patch panel. That does it make, for instance, replacing a switch easy? Because what I'm getting is the connection from the end devices to the patch panel can remain permanent forever. So if you are replacing the switch, you just replace the connection from the front of the patch panel and whatever switch it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. So right now, this is your switch. So let's say, for example, if you are to replace this switch, you just remove the cable that goes to the patch panel. So you remove this one, then you from the rack, which we are going to do it at the boot camp. It make it very easy using the boot camp process to explain that. So I'll be focusing on how to replace switches in real life. We will do it at the boot camp, but just explanation. You remove this, then you install a new one on the rack. So this will be a rack. So we'll have how to rack at the boot camp. So you just remove it and put it back. Yes. So yes, as for the patch panel, it has so many benefits. It organizes the IDF room. Without it, all cables will be on the floor, and that will be very difficult to trace the cable. And like you are saying, it also makes it easier to replace switches because it's well managed in terms of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So now let me tell you, let me ask you, George, based on the video we watch here, if you want to check where this PC is connected on this switch, what are the information you need, George?
On the wall jack, there should be an indication.
Okay, so you should check the label here. So let's say the label is A. Then what else do you do?
Then you check on the patch panel to find where A is at.
You check where A is at on the patch panel, and what do you do again?
Then from there you trace the cable.
Very good. You trace that if this is A, you trace whether then you see that it's connecting on port 2. And then the PC say it cannot have access to the internet. So now I have to know this port, what the issue is. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you all getting the flow of what I'm saying? Now, most often as a network engineer, you don't go through all this, but there are jobs where you'll be dealing with layer 1 and layer 2 issues, which means that the users will report to you. But if you are a network engineer of layer 2 and layer 3, it means that the desktop people will be the one who will trace this, and they will tell you that computer A cannot communicate. And if computer A cannot communicate, you ask them on what switch and what ports before you can check whether it's a network related issue or not. Are you all getting what I'm saying? Does it make sense? So based on that information, you then come here and you check, and we are going to go through troubleshooting on all those aspects. But I'm happy you now understand the meaning of this whole diagram that I want to communicate with. So if you understand that one, let's go to the next item. Now the next item is where in this situation it gives you the demarcation, which we call DMARC. Now when we talk of DMARC...
Sorry, excuse me, Prof.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we done with the things we need to know on your first week?
Oh,
I know you said do a site.
Because somebody said a site survey, that was what I was looking for. That is the reason why I'm going forward. But there are more to do on your first day at work. But you have one of the items to do relating to cables and the devices you are to manage is, first of all, you have to know where all the IDFs are, know all the patch panel, know the switch you are supposed to manage, get to know how the labeling works with this. Then you are done with that aspect. So I would say that we are not done with everything you are supposed to know in your first week, but based on the flow of the class, I'm okay with that information for now, but I'll ask again. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good. Godfred.
Yeah, Prof, looking at the labeling and then the ports on the switch, which will have numbers like port 1, port 2, is it possible to have on the wall jack, like say A1, if that PC is connected to port 1 on the switch and the patch panel is A, is it possible to have the inscription A1?
Okay, in terms of how they describe it is different from every company. A company can be A1, a company can be IDF1, which means that so what this wall jack should tell you, it should tell you which IDF you should go. Because sometimes on one floor you can have more than one IDF. For example, let me take this one. So this one is showing that it's only one IDF, but you can have a company where this floor there are 2 IDFs. So it means that the wall jack you have here should tell you whether you should come to this IDF or you should go to the other IDF. So sometimes, depending on the style of the company, you get to know that it's pointing to IDF, so they will give you the IDF number before the port number. So this is part of your orientation. There is no fixed method, and you cannot transfer your knowledge that you have in company A to go to company B. No, when it comes to label naming style is different from every company. So you need to be oriented on that. That is the reason why I said even when you get remote job, get to know that, because sometimes when you are talking to them, because you know it, it makes it very easy for you to explain your way out to them to support you. Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay. Now that being said, the next picture here, my goal is for you to understand that the IDFs can be in various floors, but for this example, we have what we call DMAC. So we are talking about DMAC, IDF, and MDF. Now, what is DMAC? DMAC is where the provider enters your building. So the provider equipment, where it will be located, is called DMAC. So sometime when you are working, they will ask you, which part will be your DMAC? Maybe it's a new building, then they will ask you, where do you want it to be the DMAC? If you don't have the right answer, ask the electrical guys or the wiring department. They will give you that, okay, we can have the provider equipment here, or it has to be here, or whatever the case may be. So the DMAC is where you are going to have your modem, your MPLS, and then it's going to connect to your internet router. So in normal practice, for data center, it's going to be where your MDF is, because you need it to connect to your firewall and to connect to your core. So the DMAC will be the MDF area. So that is something you have to find out in your site survey when you go for the MDF. Find out which part is your provider network coming from, so that if there is an issue and they come on site, you can be of good rep to them. So that is very, very key. Okay? And that being said, you also have to know that, okay, in this building, how many IDFs am I supposed to manage? So what it means is, you want to know that in this room, in this building, sometimes they will show you only one on the first floor. Then you ask them, is that the only thing we have here? Don't leave question for surprises, because sometimes what they have on documentation is not what they have on the actual situation. So it's good to ask for more information on that. So what I'm trying to make here is, part of your site survey, get to know the number of IDFs in each floor and each building. If you have to go to remote site, you have to get all those information, and then know where your demarcation is. The demarcation for data center will be MDF. For remote office, where your router will be installed, will be your demarcation. Okay. Godfred, is it old or new?
Oh, sorry, so.
Okay. So that means that you are good with that. So now let's go to the second image. So the second image is also giving the same information, but in this way, I'm showing you more devices in the MDF, which looks like the collapse design, where you have your core switches like this connecting to your access switches. So what it means is all these one are access switches, and then they are getting their connection. If you look at this, they are all getting their connection through the MDF. So the MDF is the main connection to all of the IDF. And if I'm to show you from this angle, you can see that there is a red cable here, which is called backbone wiring. So if you look here, based on this one, it tells you that we have a backbone wiring, which is red, and we have outside wiring. So the backbone wiring will be the one that interconnect the switches, which in our situation as network engineer, it will be your fiber cables. So the fiber cables is what we use for backbone wiring. Then the outside wiring is what connect to the wall jack, which means that is going to be from patch panel to wall jack. And that would be copper cable, not fiber cable. So that blue one, the outside wiring, is what is for the copper cable. And of course, we have another green one, which is the horizontal wiring. That is for the provider network. So just get to know that in your cabling design in real life, you have a cable from the core distributing to all the IDFs. So these are two core switches in the MDF. They are all connecting to this. And then the outside, you have this meaning. So that is the reason for this image. And then the same concept goes here. But now, why do you have this image? Why we have this image is because I gave you the cabling design for wall jack to patch panel. This patch panel is in the IDF. And then, how do you call it? Amakusi. The wall jack is at where? Where will you find wall jacks? Patch panel will be in the equipment room or the IDF. But the wall jack will be where? Everybody is going to talk. So, Amakusi, your name starts with A, so you are first on my list. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So why do the wall jack will be where? Where will you find it?
The wall just supposed to be on the wall, but
on the wall in the office room. So if you look at this, they are in the office room. So wall jack will not be here. So don't go and look for wall jack here. That is something I want all of you. So it will be on the wall, which is correct. But they are going to be in the office room connecting to computers and phone. So in terms of the outside cable, which is this one, this outside cables is connecting from patch panel from this room and is feeding this floor with various wall jack. Okay, now let's talk of the backbone wiring. Now the backbone wiring is this. And the backbone wiring is connecting switch to switch. Now this switch is the core switch and this is the access switch. So how is the connection like? It means that in this MDF there is also fiber patch panel, which is this one. And there is another fiber patch panel also in this room. So now let me give you the list of items that you should find in this room and make note of this under your site survey. List of items in IDF. And I'm taking my time to say this and you have it as a video. Don't call me for funny questions, guys. Make sure you pay attention. So the list of items in IDFs. We have a copper patch panel, which is for the outside wiring to the wall jack. Then we have a fiber patch panel, which is for the backbone wiring, like this one. And that one is going to be fiber, not copper. So fiber. So that is what is connecting switch to what? Switch. Open your ears well and understand this. I'm teaching you how to work. So if you don't know this, you can never work, and then your confidence will come down. So you have to pay attention to this. So switch to switch, which means that in this MDF, there is a fiber patch panel here, and in this IDF, there is also a fiber patch panel here. Now behind it is the outside cabling. Okay, I think this image will be more useful for that because of the color coding. So let me use this. So if you look at this very well, we have a fiber patch panel here, which is connecting through the red cable you have here, and you can see that it has a connection to the MDF. So there is one to feeding this, there is one feeding this. And that is the reason why I gave you all the practice we've been doing in terms of the advanced level. We have the lab setup to be like 2 core switches and then access switches. The access switches can be as many as the company is supposed to have, but all of them are connecting to the core. This is connecting to the core. This is connecting to the core. This is the reason why we were doing this lab. And then we do our HSRP on this core, which will be on this one. And then it means that on the core is connecting to access switch. What it means is from the outside they are coming here. So what it means is that this cable that we did in terms of the lab, where we have it connection straight to the core switch, in reality, there is a fiber patch panel here and there is a fiber patch panel here, which they will interconnect it for you, and all you need is a cable jumper to your switch and a cable jumper to the core switch. So if I'm to show you this image again, that is the illustration I'm showing you here. It means that as a network engineer, if you want to install a switch here, there is another switch for me to install here. I will rack my switch here, then I will need a fiber cable jumper to the fiber patch panel. Are you all following that? And then I'll come to the core switch. I will not install any switch here again, but I will use another port, connect it to the fiber patch panel, and through the backbone wiring, I'm going to get this connection from the core to the access switch, which is the new one. Does that make sense to everybody? Are you all getting the flow of what I'm doing? Okay. So yeah.
Can you repeat that process for me again, please?
I'm going to repeat it again because when you call me, when you are working, and I get to know that you are talking of fiber cable, I will know that you are not serious. Then I will say that, you know what, let me call you back, and the call will never come back. So if you want me to repeat like 10 times, I'll repeat it. But let me start again. As a network engineer, I said that you are going to do installation or replacing devices. So if you are installing a new switch. So this is the new switch. Now when you install and you configure all, you have to do your trunk port, which is what we were doing in the advanced level. Now how do you do the trunk without cabling? It means that you need a cable jumper. So you need a piece of fiber cable. Okay? Fiber cable. Then you connect that one to this. So let's assume that we are using this port. I'll come to which port to choose here later on. Then you come here to, on the core switch, you are not going to install anything because you are connecting the access to the core. Have you all got the story of what I'm saying? Then now we are connecting this also to the fiber patch panel. So we need two. So to be able to install new switch in one of these rooms, you need a switch and you need 2 of the fiber cables. Do you agree with me on this? Laba, do you ask? Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, sir.
Now this 2 fiber cable, one will be used in this IDF, one will be used in the MDF. And then your switch will be in the IDF because you are installing it for this location. So when I'm done, then I connect it to the fiber patch panel, which will be on your rack. Then I will also come and connect one port, use one port. So remember, You have your core switch here, you have your core switch here. So if I have one access switch here and I want to connect it to core 1, I use one cable. That means that I'm dealing with core 1. But if I want to connect to core 2, then the second core switch, which will be here, let's say on the same rack, will also need another connection to here. And then I need another connection also here. That will make sense to the meaning of this that we've been dealing with in the lab. Does that make sense, Labadi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you understand this, let me go into specific. Now, what do I mean by specific? What I mean is that on the core switch here, I will configure my trunk. I will configure my trunk here, okay? Which is for the configuration requirement. But how will I know that on this port, let's say there are 24 ports, how will I know that I have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? You remember that the wall jack to the patch panel, there is a label on the wall jack that tells me which port I should use on the patch panel. Do you agree to that concept? So here, how will I know that this cable is going to connect all the way to this when I use port 1 here and I use port 2 here? Do you get the conversation I'm having? Now, what it means is you need to know your mapping table. So under your site survey, ask for the mapping table on fiber connection. Write it. This thing you are writing, have it on a new notepad and write it, my job experience tips. Write it there. Don't start work without going through and understanding that. And this video is also, you need to watch it every day to understand everything I'm talking about. So you get your mapping table, and that mapping table will tell you that. And that one, they need to orient you because it's the same like the wall jack to patch panel. Every company have a different method. So they need to tell you that if I connect on port 1 and I come to this IDF, I can connect on port 2. That I cannot go through it because it will not be the same thing that you will be meeting in real life. Every company have a different thing. So the mapping table is what you need, and sometimes it's very easy. You look at the mapping table. Under this mapping table, this port is telling you which IDF is going, and the port to use is well explained here. If you don't understand, get somebody working there. If there is no network engineer there, ask of the wiring team or the telecom guys or the desktop guys. One of these people will know about the mapping table. Okay? So maybe you are on a site where there is no engineer there, the telecom guy or the desktop guy, somebody there will know. Or you talk to your manager, I want to know the cabling connection from fiber to fiber, from the MDF to IDF, so that if I'm to install a new switch, I know what connection to follow. So you need to, but you see, before you talk about that, what it means is that you've gone through your site survey, you know the fiber patch panel, and you've known the labeling here. You come here, you know it, and it doesn't make sense to you. So now you ask for clarification. Are you all getting the flow of what I'm saying? But sometimes it's very self-explanatory that you might not even need to ask. But if you are to ask, then you need to make sure you do that. Yvonne, I see your hand up, but your camera is off. So if your camera is off, I will not answer your question. So bring it up, then I can answer you. Yes, Yvonne, what question do you have?
I was going to ask, at the time you were talking about installing a new switch and then connecting it from the MDF to the switch through the backbone cable. And I was going to ask if you can have as many as switches, but can be connected to either one or two core switches.
Yes, so let's say here you have like 4 switches. All of them will be going to the core switches. And if you want to use some company, you have to connect to both core switches, which is the best one. So on the access switches, you connect 2. And when you come here, one come here, one goes here. So it depends. Some room can be only one switch, some room can be 7 switches, some room can be 8 switches, depending on how many computers are on this floor, because you are going to connect the port on the switch to the computers on this floor. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. Now let me show you how patch panel looks like. So this is how the fiber patch panel look, and you are going to see this at the boot camp. So you have this as a picture to understand, but at the boot camp you have a feel of it, and you then can identify it when you are working. That is the reason why I said I don't know how I can teach everything online. Sometimes seeing is believing. Okay, so there are 3 fiber connectors I've taught you. We have the ST, we have the LC, and we have the SC. So I'm sure you remember them. Now what it means is, if you look at this one, this has 4 ports on one unit. This has 2 ports on one. What it means is this is SC fiber patch panel. This is LC fiber patch panel. Over here is LC fiber patch panel. And on this side is what? ST fiber patch panel. ST, I told you, is the twisted one. So if you look at the cables that we have for the fiber patch panel, you can see that this is the ST. I'm sure you remember. If you don't remember, I'm trying to remind you that this is the ST. This is what? The no, this is SC sizable. So this is SC and this is the LC. These are the fiber connectors you are going to deal with. And these are things you have to know in an interview. Everything I'm talking about here, they are going to ask you practical questions. So what are the connectors for fiber cables? We have LC, SC, ST. Now what it means is, if the company patch panel, okay, as you see over here, if the company fiber patch panel is SC, then it means that you need to use this cable. You need to use this type of cable. Do you get it? And that means that one of this end. So let's say I'm using LC to SC cable. It means that on this end, one of this end, okay, which is the fiber patch panel, is either going to be LC. So the fiber patch panel is going to be LC or ST or SC. On the switch side, it's always LC or SC. We don't have ST on switch. We don't have any slot as ST. So the cables you procure, depending on the fiber patch panel you have here, is going to be LC to LC, meaning that the fiber patch panel is LC and your switch is LC. Do you all get what I'm saying? Or you are going to have LC to SC, which means that your fiber patch panel could be the SC, and then your switch side will be what? LC. Are you all getting the flow? Or you can have LC to LC. If you are good in lotto numbers, perming lotto numbers, this will be very good for you to perm. These are 3 numbers that I'm perming. Okay? So you have what?
That portion.
Lotto numbers, if you are good with it. Are you good with lotto numbers? Sometimes they say they have given you 3 sure numbers and 2 will come. That is exactly what I'm doing here. Okay? So LC to LC means that your side here will be LC and your switch will either be this or this. So it means that here will be LC, LC. Then you can have a connection of ST to LC, which means that your fiber will be ST, your switch will be LC. Or you can have ST to SC, which means that this side will be SC and this side ST and this will be SC. But you cannot have ST, ST. Who can tell me why? Why we cannot have ST to ST as a fiber cable? Don't purchase any cable like this. So who can tell me why?
Did you say ST to ST?
Yeah, we can never have that. And why?
Because you said the switches don't come in. You can't connect them to ST, right?
We
The
can't
switches.
connect them, but don't ever say I say. It is. Okay? It is. So please, don't go with I say. It is. So ST to ST is because the switch, there is no slot for ST. So now, let me show you the way you procure cables and the way it will look like. So let's go through. Where is it? Okay, so let me bring this one. Okay, so let's say LC to ST multi-mode fiber patch cable. So let's take for example like this. So you see, this is I said what? LC to ST. So LC to ST. Now this cable is what you order. If your patch panel is ST, if your patch panel is ST and your switch is LC, then that is the cable you order, LC to ST, because my patch panel that I have here, okay, is showing me here is ST and here is LC. So what it means is that in your site survey also, so under site survey alone, I've said so many things, so keep them as things you need to know under site survey. Know what cable you can use in these IDFs, okay, which means that is this ST fiber patch panel, is it LC fiber patch panel, or is this SC fiber patch panel? And then you have to know whether you have spare of them. So your first week, get to know the environment by knowing everything in your IDFs, and then check your spare room, find where they keep spare items, and then know whether you have spare cables. This cable one day will be working and stop working. You need to replace. And now you are telling your boss we don't have some. What were you doing for the whole 1 month, 2 months on site? You want me to tell you when to get cable? Are you all getting the flow of what I'm saying? So you need to make sure that there is spare devices. So you need to make sure there is spare cables, and the spare cables you are going to know that based on the fiber patch panel you have. In addition to that, know that there should be a spare switch. In your first week, your site survey, identify that there is a spare switch. Switch can go down and they will not come up again, meaning that they are dead or defective or it's not working anymore. And now, where are they? Switches are not things that you go to the store and buy. Like you can drive to, eBay and buy it. No, it doesn't work that way. Switches have different method of procurement, and company have different process of procurement. So they need prior notice to be able to get switches on site. So on your first week, see whether there is a spare switch, spare router, and spare AP. Okay? You have to follow everything I'm telling you now, guys. And I've said that forget about what? Kobe, Lomine. I said you should forget about what, then you ask your question. I see your hand up. Forget about what now? Kobe, your hand is up. Okay. Yeah, Kobe.
Yes.
I said you should forget about what? Forget about what now? Kobe is not paying attention. Kobe. Not this time, eh? You see how many times I've called you?
I don't know what you forget about. But I wanted to ask question one.
Yes, but I said something in the beginning of the class that for now, forget about everything and focus on what?
On your lesson?
Which of the lessons? Kobe is not with us. Kobe is not back. Kobe, pay attention. Now I'm not sure if I have to take your question because you are not following. But you let me see your question then. What question do you have?
I wasn't here in the beginning of the class. I just came in.
Okay. So what question do you have?
Okay. I wanted to ask how the wall jack is labeled, right? With the same label of the patch panel, right?
You want to know how it's labeled, or I'm
No,
not sure.
I mean, I'm saying something like the same label that is on the wall jack is on the patch panel, right?
Yes, the same. So if it's A, you are going to see the same letter A on the patch panel. Yes.
So I'm thinking like the AP, right? How do you label the AP?
So
Because
the
it's mounted
AP,
up.
yes. So the AP on the top will be labeled. So if it's on the top, they will label it. Let's say it can be. Let's take for example AP 2. When you come to the patch panel, there will be a label called AP2. Do you get it?
So it's not connected to a wall jack?
No. The AP is on the ceiling. So the wall jack is for the devices on the distance. So the AP will be in the ceiling. Okay. And then it goes through the ceiling to the patch panel.
Yeah.
So the cabling guy will give a drop on the ceiling. We call it a drop. So the drop is where you install your AP. So most often the APs, if they are doing new wiring, you give them the AP, they will hook it for you. You don't need to worry your head. They will hook it for you, and then you will label it. You label it against the wall jack. You, the engineer, will label the AP against the wall jack. Or you can tell them they can also label it. Some of them have label printers. So they can label it against the wall jack. But if you look at the name of the AP, it will tell you which.
Against the patch panel or wall jack.
I said wall jack. Oh, sorry. Patch panel. Thank you. Yeah, patch panel. Yes. Against the patch panel. Yes.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Chestero.
Yeah, Pro.
But Chestero, before you ask your question, I said you should forget about everything and focus on what now?
So right now we should be focusing about like discussion and stuff. We should forget about configuration. That's what you said.
And the discussion should be centered on what?
As of now, like interview and cabling and stuff like that. So like
interviews and what at all can I do if I get a job? What do I know to even what do I know to even tell you whether you should apply for a job? So what you should be focusing on now is interview process and what do I know to even look for a job? What do I know in terms of like right now I'm teaching you how to work, which means that right now you know what to look out for in terms of site survey, your first week at work. So if in an interview they ask you, if you become successful and we hire you, what plans do you have for your first week? Or how do you want us to support you in your first week at work? Now you should have answer to that. This is something that if you have not worked before, you cannot have answer to. Are you all getting the point I'm making? And then they are also going to ask you questions relating to what exists on the environment. And if you have not worked before, you cannot have answer to them. Does that make sense? And that is the reason why, if Chestero, I said you have certain number of years of experience. It's not in the industry. Years of experience in job description is the level of competence. Does that make sense?
Yes, correct. So
if I have 10 years experience as my working knowledge, and a company is looking for 5 years, and I know I need that job, do I have to tell them I have 10 years?
No.
Because that would be foolishness. You understand? And sorry to say that, because that is not what they are looking for. So the same breath, if the company is looking for 5 years of experience, and then with that 5 years of experience, does not replace that you can fake competence or skills to make it. That you cannot. It will. That is where Baumia will say the what will expose you like it has exposed them. The fundamental will expose you. So there are things, if you don't know it, guys, you cannot fake it. And that is the reason why I'm serious here, and I want you to be serious here, because even if you fake to get a job, you cannot maintain the job. Are you all getting what I'm saying? But that is one thing everybody should keep in mind. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because sometimes we get confused between the two. And people think that they can cut corners and make it. Cutting corners doesn't make you make it, or it doesn't make you smart. But position yourself in a way that people can know that you know your stuff is what I'm preaching here. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, Chestero.
Yeah, so so I wanted to know like the difference between the patch panel and the batch panel. So,
the patch panel and what?
The batch panel.
Batch.
Yeah, like BATCH, batch panel.
Okay, let's Google it, because I have not heard that term before. But maybe it might be the same thing, and sometimes some company have different meanings. So batch panel, I know for what I'm talking about is called patch panel, but I don't know of the batch panel. So let's see what that means. Let me take images. This one there is showing something different. Or is it the same thing? Okay, it could be the same, because I'm seeing something like this. I've not heard anybody using the word batch, to be honest, but maybe it might be the same. Okay, so where did you hear the batch panel?
I think earlier when we were talking about cabling, you mentioned something like that before.
Batch? No.
Yeah.
Batch. Maybe huh?
The first day when we went into like the advanced.
Oh, then it's a slip, because I don't know of batch, so I don't know how I will say it. What I don't know, I can't say it. So maybe it's a slip. Sometimes that is why I like when you correct me, because my mind will be saying something that is different. Do you get it? So don't use batch panel in the industry, because I've not heard it before, and people might not understand what you mean. But maybe too, it could be something that some company has it, but it's patch panel, because it's for patching purpose. So the batch panel, if not because you know it somewhere, then the correct information should be patch. Okay? Okay, good. Because if you heard that and you go and use it in the industry somewhere, they will say, what do you mean by batch panel? Then they will start suspecting you that, where is this guy coming from with that knowledge? Okay. So that means that we are okay with that information. So that is good. So I've spoken about this. I'm also showing you a view of the switch. So if you look at this, this is a switch. This is a copper patch panel. And this is a fiber patch panel. And as you can see, of course, this is a single mode fiber patch panel. And this is a single mode fiber patch panel. And all these are going to where? They are going to where? This fiber patch panel, you see the switch is connecting to the fiber patch panel. And then the fiber patch panel cable behind the scene, which you are going to see some at the boot camp, is going to where? Who can tell me? It's going to where?
The MDF?
MDF is going to the MDF. Very good. That is the end point of this. And this is an IDF. So this fiber patch panel is going to the MDF. And that is what I use this to explain to you. That in the IDF you have a fiber patch panel, which is what I'm showing you now here, which is this one. And then through the ceiling, it goes through the ceiling as you are having here, to come to the MDF. And this cable within the ceiling is what we call backbone wiring. So you have it all interconnecting to switches, okay? Then in addition, you have this going through the ceiling to wall jack, which is the outside what? wiring. Okay, good. So now we also come to what we call, okay, I have this one also. So at the boot camp, you also see in real life how MPLS circuit looks like. So in the industry, you are going to deal with circuit or modem. Modem, if you have not seen some before, go and check your internet modem. That is the same thing you see in the industry. But circuit, I will show you how it looks like at the boot camp. So I have one copy there that I will show you. So you see that this is your circuit, and then this is a user port, which means that that is the port you use to connect to your router. This is a router, and then this is a network port. This is the one that is going through the DMAC. So this is the one, this is how they come to your building, and then this device can give you internet access or connectivity access. Are you all getting the flow? Yes, Godfred.
Yeah, Prof, talking about the spare, things to have as spare, how many would you suggest for switches and for the routers especially? How many would you suggest should be?
Okay, so for how do you call it? Routers, one is okay. APs, if you can get more than one, is ideal. Because sometimes I've had a situation where 4 APs died at the same time. So if you don't have enough spare, then you are going to have issue. So APs, I'm sure it should be more. But if it's not more, you can advise for more. Switches is not everyday thing. It's difficult for switch to die, but I've had situation where 2 switches after reboot never came up again. So having more than one is better, but at least having one will give you peace of mind. But having more than one for switches is better. For routers, it hardly goes down. So that if you have one is okay. But switches, because there are many, sometimes having more than one would be more ideal. APs too, having more than one would be more ideal.
Okay, thank you.
And let me also say this in regards to AP, which has happened to me before. You can have a spare AP, but that spare AP cannot work. What do I mean by that? The spare AP is something that the wireless controller you have there doesn't support that. So make sure your AP that you have as a spare is something you can use. So now, watch the wireless videos. So if you go to the membership page I was talking about, we have the video session. So this video session, most of them are going to go down, but the wireless videos that you have here, day 1, day 2, day 3, try and watch them, okay? And all these ones, you forget about them. I'm going to provide what we are talking about. So wireless is something now. Videos, learning, answering interview questions should be the way to go now, okay? Focus your energy on that. So that is to answer your question. Godfred, does that make sense?
All right. Yes, bro.
Okay. Kobe, is it old hand or new one? Lomine, old or new?
It's old, but let me ask a question, please.
Okay.
You know, like how for the Juniper, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Cisco, we use the EIGRP, so we only use OSPF for the Juniper, right? Because it's open protocol. So with Juniper, is it possible to do redundancy, or is it possible to even have a data center for Juniper? The whole data center is Juniper.
Yes.
Is it possible to have a site like that?
Yes. You can have only Juniper environment. Only Juniper. They don't have anything Cisco. Everything Juniper. And the core switch are Juniper. Redundancy protocol, you can have VRP. Yes. And and then routing, you can have what? OSPF in that situation. But yes, you can have only Juniper environment as well. And you can have only HP environment. You can have only Arista environment. You can have only Extreme environment. Okay, that is why I said you have to let them know that you know Cisco, so that they will have time for you to bring yourself to speed with the configuration. but it's not difficult to learn things about HP or about Arista or about Extreme, because network, the concept is the same. VLAN is VLAN, routing is routing. I just have to know how to configure it using HP. The command line will be different. So if I become successful, it won't be an issue. Why? Because in my current role, we have a Juniper there, and before I got the job, I didn't know anything about Juniper. But after, within a month ago, I was able to bring myself to speed in terms of all the command line under Juniper. So somebody who is a quick learner, and I don't think that will be an issue if I become successful. Are you all getting the flow of what I'm saying? So that is something you can say in terms of that as well. Now, once we understand the cable aspect, we have idea
Sir,
of...
one more thing.
Okay.
I don't know the Juniper. Do they have a problem with the /16?
What do you mean by /16? What do you mean by /16 of IP address?
I don't know. We try to do.
Do you mean by IP address or what?
Yeah.
No. You can do /8.
Is that a problem with /16?
No, they don't. It works with all slash. Why? Why do you say that?
No, we couldn't. The ask is terrible. I don't know. I was thinking it's like.
But you people, I have given you /24. Why are you going to worry yourself with /16? Oh man, people, they want to make life very difficult for themselves. when somebody is giving them easy process, and that is why sometimes I like OB process, easy way. I'm giving you easy way. I've given, if /16 is useful, I will teach you why /16. But as we go further, you will see why I keep on using /24 and I don't use any other things. So why are you worrying with yourself with /16? Don't be learning unnecessary stuff, okay? Follow the principle I'm giving you and you have peace of mind. I'm teaching you one way or the other experience that you don't know. But that is why sometimes I can get students and they are in the field and they will tell me, oh, prof, man, I'm feeling myself. But in my head, I know why he's feeling himself or herself, because I've avoided unnecessary stuff. So don't practice with /16. Just practice with /24. And as we finish the class, you see why I keep on using /24. I've never used 16. I've never used /8. Do you remember? It's because you might not do it ever. That is why I don't waste time. So what you don't do, why do I waste time teaching you that? And you get to know it as we go further. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now let's go to transceivers. So now cabling aspect, we are good. Let's go to transceivers. So transceivers, let's bring ourselves to speed. This is fiber transceivers. This is copper transceiver. So this is fiber and this is copper. So where do we use this and where do we use this? So let me show you one instance where we use any of them. So this one, if we look at this, let me bring this item here. And I'm not sure if you can see it well, but let me zoom it out. And then you can see very well that over here there is a transceiver before the fiber cable. Do you see that? That there is something here. You understand? This is the slot, transceiver slot, which is different from this one. So what it means is the transceiver has to be installed here before you connect the fiber cable on. And some of the holes are smaller, some are bigger. So when the hole that you are going to use for trunking is smaller, then you are going to use the SFP. If it's bigger, then you are going to use the JBIC. Do you all get that? And also you have to remind yourself that we have multi-mode transceivers for either SFP or JBIC. We have multi-mode, and then we have what? Single mode transceivers. Example of multi-mode transceiver, we have SX, multi-mode. I mean SX, and we have XR, and we have LRM. I've given that to you already. Then if you want their single mode, which is for longer range, we have LX, we have LR, and we have ZR and other letters. Okay, at least you can keep just few of them, but the common one used in the industry is this, which I want you to keep in mind. If they ask you what transceiver have you worked on, for single mode, LX, LR, multi-mode, SX, XR. And then at the bootcamp, I'm going to show you how to determine whether this transceiver is for multi-mode or this transceiver is for single mode. It's not something I can use picture to worry your head with. Do you all get what I'm saying? So I will show you how to read transceivers to be single mode or what? Multi-mode. Okay. And this one is for copper, because there are days where you have to connect. Let's say, for example, let me give you one typical scenario. You've run port on this, so you can't connect all of them to the core switch. Now I can install a copper transceiver here and connect it to this switch. So this switch is the one giving me access to the core, but this switch is feeding on this. Are you all getting what I'm saying? So there are days where in this IDF you run out of port on the fiber patch panel. So you can't have cable anymore connecting to the fiber patch panel. So you have to feed on the existing one and trunk it. So if I'm going to install another one, I'm going to feed this on this and trunk it. So when you go to some IDF, you see this connectivity there. And it's more because you don't have available port on the fiber patch panel. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, good. Are we having conversation? Okay, so that is to explain that, and we've spoken about this already. So now we are going to go through this. And this one, before we go through that, we will go for break. This is where I will teach you how to resolve issues. So at this stage, to summarize everything we've spoken about so far, this is more about making sure you understand how cabling is, the setup of cabling design in real life or in an enterprise life, which means that from PC to switch, how does it look like? And this is also going to guide you to know from switch to switch, how do we interconnect them? How do we connect core switch to access switch? In real life, you can have one access switch on the 9th floor, 10th floor, 11th floor. How do you then connect it to a core which is in the MDF? This is through this conversation that we had. Then I've given you how the fiber patch panel looks like, but you're also going to see it at the bootcamp, but you should see the meaning of this. So this cable, you see that it's a multi-mode cable, and this is the cable that goes through the ceiling or to what? The MDF, and then it will also connect to another fiber patch panel. Then you connect it to your core switch with a cable jumper, which can be LC to, this is SC. So let's say LC to SC. So the fiber patch panel could be SC and your core switch is what? LC. So that is something very, very important to say that you have an experience in network when you know how cable are connected. This one, I have to work for some time to know this. And I'm trying to make sure that you can bring your level of understanding to people that you have an experience. And then we have an example of how IDF looks like. Switch to the switch connection to the fiber patch panel, and then router connection to the service provider network. And then you also have transceivers and where we use transceivers. And then you also know connectors in fiber cables and types of fiber cables. So this will end the conversation about cabling setup.